Welcome back, everybody. I appreciate that you once again tuned in, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm talking stuff like here, China, US, Chinese stocks, and here in particular the EV industry and NIO stocks. So follow along, hit the like and share it if you find this valuable. I'm trying to make this as short and concise as possible, and also, to teach you my way of thinking about these matters. Today I'm trying to merge some market topics here with what's going on in NIO stock today in the short term. So it's been an interesting day already. I don't know where's the stock going to close, but we've been down quite a bit. I think it was down 4% or somewhat when it's opened, and now it's made all the way back. It's been trading a little bit higher before, but currently we're up 3%. And I think there's no coincidence of what's happening today. There's still some fighting going on in the NIO stock, and I will, tell you all about what I think about that. So today I got a call from a NIO investor, which I personally know, and he's very invested in the stock, and he was asking me, Marcel, is it now a good time to add to my NIO position? And I'm always telling you the same thing as I tell these big investors. Frankly, I'm always telling, I can only speak for myself and I cannot give financial advice, but I can tell you now the way I'm thinking about it. And I would say there is some upside here in NIO stock. Currently we are sort of sitting at a resistance level, in my opinion, if you look at this downtrend blue line here. So it's been kind of trying to test here a little fake breakout here until we got this large turn down, and now we're sitting back at this level again at this downtrend. So we might actually be plowing through that, in which case I think there might be an opportunity to go all the way to about 8 USD to close this one here, and that would be roughly 50% upside from here, but so far I think an invisible hand maybe is trying to hold NIO in its place, in its downtrend, right? And I'm saying that because, yesterday we had this news that I also want to talk about here popping up on my feed on a Sunday about exclusive. Reuters reports US to propose a ban on Chinese software hardware in connected vehicles. So when I saw that, I thought, that's kind of odd. First off, why does it come without any source naming names, and on a Sunday before the stock market opens again? And isn't that actually old news? We had Raimondo talking a couple of months ago about that. She sees there's a danger with connected vehicles, Chinese vehicles on the roads of the US that could be turned into potential killing machines when they remotely turn off the blocks and turn it off, and whatever could happen to millions of vehicles on the road. So this plan here sounds really big, like propose vehicles that contain hardware and software that is Chinese made for connected and autonomous vehicles. And make no mistake, pretty much every vehicle today is a connected vehicle, maybe not an autonomous vehicle. That's still very rare, of course, but almost every vehicle out there is containing Chinese hardware when we talk about EVs, because the batteries are 90% produced in China. And also when it comes to software and other parts of the hardware, good luck finding a way of producing a car without having anything Chinese involved into that. So we need to think about why this article is coming out now and who's benefiting from that. And it seems a little bit odd, right? So I try to teach you my way of critical thinking and things like that, because we've seen those sorts of things play out quite a lot, and usually the largest downturn has been with NIO stock. And that might be the case because NIO is one of the most shorted Chinese stocks that is around. If you just pull off a search for the most shorted stocks, or stocks that have a short where the short float is more than 10%, there's only a handful of names that are coming up, and NIO is one of them. 200 million shares being shorted, so that's roughly at the current price a little bit more than $1 billion US dollar that shorts have invested. That's not only, I mean, that's not even covering the naked shorting, which goes unreported, or bearish put options. So, the fact is, this is not a conspiracy, that there's quite a lot of money on the table betting against NIO. They want to see the company fail. They want to see the company to go out of business and to buy the shares lower. And coming back to the question whether or not there is a good time to buy NIO stock right now, I mean, this is also what the investors said to me. Like, we've got good catalysts coming up, right? We've got the Onvo brand launch, which looks like quite exciting to most investors, and the larger volumes according to that. Then we've got the Fed cutting rates, maybe liquidity for more risk asset names, and what I mentioned in my last video that I've done on the playground with my baby is like about, this will possibly enable China to start propping up its economy a little bit more. And in fact, tomorrow we have an important date where policymakers are going to meet and propose something. Not sure what's going to be that, but it might be related to the Fed cut, that they are now in a better place of doing that. So isn't it odd that we see articles like that popping up and giving not much context and not much clear insights other than that the Biden administration is planning that? Side note here again, I don't know why people freak out about Donald Trump. I personally look very calm at the prospects of him becoming president. Again, I'm not saying that I wish this is happening or how likely it's going to be. I'm just saying that in case it's happening, nothing's going to be worse than what the Biden administration is doing with 100% tariffs and those sort of bans. And so they are playing this authoritarianism versus democracy games and stuff like that. And I think Trump might be much more transactional, but maybe also whoever follows Biden. But anyways, it's election and bipartisan support is always there for bashing China. So this could be just a way of trying to win over some votes, because if you think about it realistically and critically, this would not only impact Chinese automakers, it would impact everybody who's producing a car and trying to sell it in the United States. As I said before, it's almost impossible, especially for EV, to produce a car without any Chinese-made components in there. No matter if it's about connectivity, about AI, about intelligence, about the battery management system and such, it's all related to China, and you can't do it without them. So I really don't see that this is a very realistic proposal, to be honest, but certainly we've seen how NIO stock in the open today responded to that, and I think that's been one of the main causes why it's been dipping that much. And I think it's possibly not leaning too much out of the window here, but this is a critical stage also for the shorts to not losing more money on this trade. And it's working. It has been working for the last 3 years to play these sort of stories every time when we are at critical levels of the stock. But now it seems, given that the stock is up 3%, that the investors are not buying into the fear this time, but there is more greed regarding those positive catalysts. And I would agree, yes, this seems to be the obvious trade, also given how low valued NIO stock is in terms of price sales multiples and so on, and with competitors and how they are valued, right? But who am I to judge? I'm just one part of this market. I'm just saying that I'm usually not trading on these short-term metrics, and that's what that's why my investment philosophy, if I have a long-term perspective on an investment like NIO, where I think the real good years are further out, I can take the time to accumulate a position that I think is fitting my personal risk reward level and my kind of allocation that I want to give to a risky and volatile stock like NIO. But the volatility is undoubtedly there, right? And I just gave a example of that with this article, with what's going on here in the backgrounds, and how we need to, in my opinion, start thinking critically how realistic such policies are, what are the backgrounds, who is benefiting like that, and what will be the actual impact of NIO. I would go so far and say, even if there's the impact that NIO will never be able to sell a car into the United States or even into Europe, at this point in time, there is not much future value discounted into NIO stock that's coming from this sort of a revenue stream from the United States. I think that has been on the table since a long time. I think it's for everybody it's obvious to see that NIO's plans are currently quite, I would say, a little bit more conservative and slow going when it comes to those international expansions. But ultimately, there should be the opposite effect, that at some point when NIO really starts going globally, then this should be a catalyst to the stock. And it's, in my opinion, not the case that news like that should be weighing on your stock as it is now. And maybe just one more remark here that I want to point out. No matter if this is going to happen or not, I think this really shows a quite paranoid way of looking at the world and things that are going on. Do we really think there is a realistic case that China is, shutting off all of our mobile phones and cars and that sort of things? Is this really a realistic world in which we are going to live in? And even so, if we're gonna live in that world, shouldn't we do everything to change and get things back onto track? Because that world wouldn't be livable at all. It would certainly mean quite a big escalation. So the fact that those policymakers, those lawmakers are actually debating about that is mind-boggling to me. But that's just my personal opinion and something on the more ethical side. So that's a little bit on the background and what I'm seeing happening here. Let me know in the comments if you agree or not. Thanks for watching and see you in my videos.